Hi, and welcome back to the 50 Shades of Blonde show. I'm Missy Day.
And Jill Branson.
And with us today is my dad, Jay Lester. He is the founder of Lester Electric, a business that he owned for 45 years in Bellflower, California. So welcome to the show, Dad.
Well, I'm happy to be here, I guess. Yeah.
You guess? Oh, come on. No.
Yeah, it's an interesting program you have here.
Well, my dad always has said up until the time we had our show that he wasn't going to be on the show. And then I talked him into speaking at our like-minded lunch last month, which was very exciting. And so I asked him if he'd want to be on the show, and he actually said yes. So this is a big deal, having my dad here. So, Dad, I was wondering if you would share with our viewers that are mostly like all entrepreneur people like yourself. When you talked about the word can't at our lunch, can you share that story about using the word can't?
Well, you're talking about the program that I actually did.
Right.
Yeah, and in the beginning, it was something that you started. You had a customer or a person or whatever that told you that he had a problem with the word can't, C-A-N-T. He said that it just seemed to dominate his life, and no matter what he tried to do, this word can't kept coming up, and he was just obsessed by it, and he was ready to quit and give up because he just felt he can't do anything. So she sent him over to me. I'm a problem solver. That's my life. I spend my life entirely my life is solving problems, and I enjoy it. So I thought about this little deal, and I thought, well, what can I do to impress this poor guy? So I had him over to the house, and I got a piece of notebook paper, and I gave him a pen, and I told him, write the word can't, C-A-N-T, in big letters all over that piece of paper. And so he did. And I said, okay, now you take this home with you, and you go out in the backyard, and you dig yourself a hole about a foot deep, and the same width as that piece of paper. And you lay that paper in that hole, can't side down, and it's about a foot deep, and then you throw the dirt back on it, and you get up and stomp on it a little bit and press it down in the ground good. And now, if you just think about it, that word can't is no longer in your life because you just buried it. I think it helped him. I don't know. I never did hear any more from it, but many times when you actually have problems and you attack them in different ways, you get different results out of it. You have to put a little concentration behind it, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I think it was very impactful. I had never seen you do that before.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Well, I had of course, that time in business, I had many employees working for me, and had lots of employees. I remember the one that I told you one time when you were having an employee problem at the bank you were working at, and you had a couple of gals that were cat fighting, and you seemed to be having an awful lot of trouble with it. And I told you, I said, here's a little situation that worked for me. I said, you just call these two girls in and said, you girls don't seem to be getting along, and I'm going to have to do something about it. What I'm going to do about it is I'm going to let one of you go, and then I'm going to keep one of you, but I won't tell you which one it's going to be, but I'd guarantee you it's going to be the best one in my opinion. But now why don't you girls go outside and talk this over a little bit and see if we can solve it. And they weren't, I don't think in her case they weren't gone very long until they were back in and said, well, we've kind of solved our problem. I think we're going to work it out okay. Another little, you might call it a gimmick or some kind of a different approach, but sometimes these different things like that work. They work, and that's the important part, to make them work. Again, I would say that I am a problem solver. I had a business that had lots of problems to solve because I was in maintenance work, and although I had the employees to do it, many times when it was available to me, and there were nighttime calls to make because some electrical appliance had quit or something, I took the call. I was the guy that was laying on his back at 2 o'clock in the morning trying to fix the thing. I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it, and spent a lot of time in business. When I was supposed to be an executive, I was actually laying on the floor at a grease spot trying to make the thing work. And I will say that I rarely failed. I can hardly ever remember a problem that I didn't solve one way or another. You can't ever think that it can't be done. That was my opinion. There is no such a thing as having to go into the boss and tell him, I can't fix it. You can't do that because you lose the customer, for one thing. So you have to figure out a method of fixing the problem. And usually with that attitude, you fix the problem and everybody's happy.
I think that's the one thing, Dad, that I think, while all your employees really respected you a lot, is because there wasn't anything you did. I mean, that you asked them to do that you didn't. You were always the first
right.
one doing all the work.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's true. I had some customers that were pretty large customers, fairly large, but I never had a lot of them. I had just a few, and I ran a small business. I deliberately kept the employee down to a small amount, as much as I could, and it made a considerable amount of money because I was there to watch it all the time, and they were loyal employees. I would think that I've lost count now, but my secretary that I had for 30 odd years, and when I sold the business to the gentleman that works for me, he kept her, and then when she got to where she didn't want it anymore, then she turned it over to her daughter.
Oh.
So that
Nice.
legacy is still there.
Mm-hmm.
The kid that runs the business now, I started him working when he was 16 years old, washing trucks and sweeping out. And he now owns the business, owns the property, and is my trustee of my trust.
And
Wait.
Beverly's watching.
Huh?
And Beverly's watching. Say hi to Beverly.
Hello, Beverly. What do you know she's watching?
Because I saw her join on the computer. I saw her name come up earlier that she
Oh.
joined.
Oh, this is too confusing.
All this technology.
Yeah. You don't need to worry about that now.
Yeah.
I've known Beverly for a long time. Long time. She used to be a waitress in a place that I ate at, and we didn't really know each other until many years later, and realized that we were both friends and so forth at this restaurant. That was the one up at the bowling alley.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, so we're almost out of time. So I told you it was going to go very fast. So thank you for coming on today, Dad. I
Yes.
appreciate it. You're coming on and sharing your pearls of wisdom with us. And your other friend I see is on, Mr. Guy Dawson. So usually this
yes.
is Guy's job. He usually does the interviewing for my dad on the radio and Like Minded Lunch. And so today it was our turn. So thank you very much, Dad. I appreciate it.
You're seeing something that I don't see. I don't see Beverly nor Guy, either one.
We'll show it to you.
Yeah, they're out there, trust me. So join us for the next segment in just a few minutes.